As we come on the air, Sky 11 giving us an overhead look at the Growing Memorial, where more than 24 hours ago, a federal ICE agent shot and killed a woman. Is one of a handful of areas people are gathering tonight to both protest and remember the victim, Renee Good. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Rena Sargentopoulos. When it comes to the investigation into the deadly shooting, a major change today. The Minnesota BCA saying the FBI is taking over the case, with state investigators no longer having access to important case files. In a statement, the BCA says, quote, without complete access to the evidence, witnesses and information collection, we cannot meet the investigative standards that Minnesota law and the public demands. As a result, the BCA has reluctantly withdrawn from the investigation. Former U.S. Attorney Tom Heffelfinger says the federal government now has exclusive control over the case, which he says is concerning, since several top federal officials have already shared their own views about what they believe happened.
And because they've already expressed their opinion, how can we realistically expect to get a fair investigation result? I think the fair, transparent investigation is at risk here.
Hennepin County Sheriff Dewana Witt says she is deeply concerned about the decision after she says local law enforcement leaders were promised a local investigation would happen. The Hennepin County Attorney's Office says they are exploring other ways to investigate the case locally, but experts say a local investigation will be difficult without the cooperation from the federal government. In the last half hour, an update from Governor Walz on the National Guard. The news coming not long after the governor gave an update on the deadly ICE shooting, with harsh comments on the federal takeover of the investigation. Danny Spiewak picks up the story. They're live from the state's Emergency Operations Center in Blaine. Danny?
Governor Walz signed an executive order this afternoon that basically allows the Minnesota National Guard members to stage in their correct locations in the event that they're needed. They're not going to be deployed to the streets. It's basically just building on preparations that first began yesterday. But before that executive order was issued, Governor Walz spoke extensively this morning about the situation unfolding with the federal takeover of the investigation into the ICE shooting in Minneapolis that occurred yesterday. Governor Walz expressed his frustration with the fact that he believes the BCA is being shut out of this investigation. He said that the BCA's Force Investigations Unit is well positioned and uniquely qualified to be able to investigate a use of force incident like this. And he said he doesn't trust the federal government to have a fair or impartial process.
Very, very difficult for Minnesotans to think in any way this is going to be fair when Kristi Noem was judge, jury, and basically executioner yesterday. That's very, very difficult to think that they were going to be fair.
In a news conference in New York City today, Kristi Noem, the Homeland Security Secretary, was asked about this situation. She said in a brief response that, in her view, Minnesota simply doesn't have jurisdiction here. She continues to maintain that the federal agent acted in self-defense within his training yesterday. Rena.
Danny, do we know anything about more ICE agents or Border Patrol agents coming to Minnesota?
Well, we know that the federal agents certainly won't be leaving the Twin Cities. The federal government and the Trump administration has made that very clear, that they're remaining committed to the operation and the surge that they started here in recent days. And Secretary Noem said today she wouldn't rule out sending more to the Twin Cities or Minnesota. All
right, Danny, thank you. Meanwhile, the ICE agent at the center of the shooting has been identified, and we've learned from Homeland Security Secretary, Kristi Noem, that he was involved in a separate incident last summer where he was dragged by a car and injured while trying to arrest a sex offender. Jonathan Ross is the agent in both incidents. We don't know much else about Ross, including his length of service or training. Today, a steady stream of mourners visiting the Growing Memorial for Renee Good. Jessica Hart is live at nearby Lake Street and Chicago Avenue with the latest on the anti-ICE protests, which does plan to get underway soon. Jessica?
Yeah, Rena, we're out here because that protest is going to take place in about an hour and a half. But protesters were up as early as 7 this morning to be outside the Whipple building. But that's not the only place they gathered. More than 100 people met at the memorial around noon this morning to listen to clergy members. Several faith leaders were calling for faith and for love and for peace. I talked with several people at Renee Good's memorial. All of them say they shouldn't need to be here.
This woman deserves much more than flowers, but this is the best that we can do in this moment for her, to honor her memory and her life and what she meant to all of her loved ones in her community.
People have been coming and going throughout the day to leave cards and flowers for Renee. Coming up at 5, I'll have more on what we saw out at the Whipple building. Back to you.
All right, Jessica, thank you. Well, tonight our team coverage continues as new details emerge about Renee Nicole Good. Ian Russell joining us now. You've learned some new details in the last hour.
Yeah, we just got some new information from a family member and also from some former neighbors as well about Renee Good. We learned some of this information from her that she that she was relatively new to Minnesota, I should say, and the Twin Cities, having previously lived in the Kansas City, Missouri area. She was born in Colorado. We know she described herself as a poet and won a poetry prize from the Old Dominion University English department. And we have reached out to several family members of Good's, but have not heard back yet. The Associated Press spoke to an ex-husband of hers who says Good had just dropped her 6-year-old son off at school Wednesday and was driving home with her current partner when they encountered those ICE agents. Good also has a daughter and son from her first marriage. Now here's what neighbors from that Kansas City neighborhood had to say last night.
A neighbor who, is not a terrorist, not an extremist. That was just a mom who loved her kids, loved her spouse.
Now, neighbors in Missouri tell our Kansas City NBC affiliate that they were sad when Good moved away about 8 months ago. They say that she was a, quote, awesome neighbor who was great with her kids. Rena?
Yeah, no matter what side you fall on, no matter what you think happened here, someone has died at the end of the day, and
Yeah.
she meant something to a lot of people.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Well, earlier today in New Brighton, dozens of students at Irondale High School staged a walkout. Sky 11 giving us a bird's eye view. The students are protesting ICE presence here in Minnesota. And for a second day in a row, classes will be canceled tomorrow in the Minneapolis Public School District. Officials say it is out of an abundance of caution for student safety. All other school activities and sports are canceled as well. The district says it is working with the city right now on emergency preparedness and responses. Those cancellations come after an intense encounter with agents and a group outside Roosevelt High School yesterday. DHS sent us a statement in the past hour that says a U.S. citizen was trying to impede Border Patrol operations and that he rammed his vehicle into a government car, which began a 5-mile chase, eventually ending up at Roosevelt. Social video shows agents tackling one man to the ground. A student we spoke with says that man is a teacher. You can see others scuffling with the agents. Another perspective shows a student throwing a snowball and then an agent spraying a deterrent at them. You can see another scuffle in the background as teachers try to separate the students from all that chaos. We spoke with the student who took this video to hopefully give us some context.
I was coming back from eating with my friends, and we were just driving back to school, and we just see everything was so packed, and we just see ICE parked in the whole front, and then just them arguing with the principals, the teachers here. They were telling them to get out, and I just see a crash car right there with a busted car window.
Now back to the chase that DHS says happened. They also say that while the subject was being removed from his vehicle, an individual who identified himself as a teacher proceeded to assault a Border Patrol agent. NPS says they are investigating that incident. More than 24 hours after the Minneapolis fatal ICE shooting, there are still so many questions to answer about what happened. This, of course, is a developing story that is changing quickly as new details come out. Know that we are working hard to bring everything to light, and we will share that with you after it is properly vetted so you get the facts. In the meantime, stay with KARE 11 on air and online, and of course, KARE 11 Plus for the latest updates. Then watch us live tonight at 5 and 6 for even more team coverage.